size?
Well, a number of ways. You can't just think that it means throw the ball to Roy Hibbert on the block and let him, play one-on-one post-ups for the entire game. We've got to pound them on the glass on both ends. We've got to take care of our glass, rebounding their long misses on the three-point line. But really just not settle for one-shot offense. We've got to attack the glass as much as possible, and Roy's got to be a factor in. Not just in when his number is called, but random duck-ins. Every play is his play. And that's how he's going to be best utilized.
You got Barbosa play tonight?
Yes, Barbosa is cleared to play. Had a lot of improvement from yesterday to today. Feels really good.
Now that the playoffs are here, I know you've always talked about shortening rotation. Now that the time is here, will you break away for what got you here, or how do you see that?
We'll have a three-man rotation at the wing between Paul George, Danny Granger, and Leandro Barbosa.
How important is it for this city to get back into basketball, for you guys to have a good playoff run?
It's very important. It always happens the year after, or at least during that playoff run. Without playoff success and going on a deep playoff run, I don't know if your fans really embrace what you're doing, no matter what you did in the regular season. So it's very important, for this franchise that we do that.
You said Barbosa is cleared to play. Will he play as much as he normally does?
Yes.
When did you guys start advancing Orlando? Or start preparing specifically?
Well, the assistant coaches probably started, we ended on probably a week before Wednesday's game in Chicago. They just started, watching some tape, putting together, some personnel edits. I started watching them, I think Monday afternoon of the Detroit game.
Do you take the tape from pre-Howard and just ignore that completely and just look at what they got now?
No, you really don't, and you can't. You have to, look at our guys in the situation, because as much as, he's a beast in the low post, most of their offense is the spread pick and roll game. And whether it's Howard rolling to the basket or Big Baby or Earl Clark, you still have to roll. You still have to cover the basketball and the guy rolling to the basket that can finish. While staying home on three-point shooters. So just because it's Dwight Howard in those previous games doesn't change how we study what they've done to us.
Coach, where Orlando really hurt you guys this year was at your offensive end, their defensive end. They were very successful, and it was true whether Howard was on the court or not. What caused those problems, and how important is tempo for?
Tempo is always important. No matter who we're playing, we want to run. Stan Van Gundy is one of the best coaches in the NBA, and he has his team prepared, no matter who's in uniform, to handle what your team's strengths are. It's going to be a series of adjustments, and they've been prepared for us, but we feel like we're a much better basketball team now than we were when we played them early in the year.
You changed your normal shoot-off schedule. Was there a reason behind it, or do you just feel like?
I just looking at this season being a little bit of a different season than most. Rest has always been in the front of my mind, not in the back of my mind. And we didn't know going into Thursday's practice when today's game was going to be. And if it was at 1 o'clock or noon, then we wanted to have Thursday and Friday to get ready. It ended up being at nighttime. So if I had known that ahead of time, I'd have given them off Thursday, practice Friday, shoot around this morning. But since we got 2 good days of practice in the last couple of days, I thought our guys would be at their freshest if they had the morning off to sleep in.
Does it concern you at all that everybody has you guys winning this thing fairly easily?
Yeah, sure. I don't feel that way, quite frankly. I've got a great deal of confidence in my basketball team, but I've got a great deal of respect for Stan Van Gundy and any three-point shooting attack, as lethal as theirs is, no matter who is in the middle. Any team that shoots the ball as well as they do is extremely dangerous, and you combine that with a team that's going to be as prepared as any team in the playoffs. They're a legitimate threat, and we're going to have to play a great series to get out of here to advance.
You haven't had to deal with injuries, but do you find, just from your history, when a key player goes down, that a team seems to kind of rally together and they play even harder now that with that key player doesn't line up?
No question. In particular, if there's any level of resentment for any reason, whether I've been in situations, where say like in Boston, where a guy's concerned with that guy gets all the shots, so when he goes out, then it's like, oh, this is my chance. You know, obviously their situation, there's been a great deal of distraction around Dwight Howard, so I'm sure there's a lot of guys in that locker room that want to prove they can do it without him.
With a couple of days off, are you comfortable putting in anything new for this series, or
just
refining what you're doing?
We just fine-tuned what I think we've grown in how we've adjusted our spread pick and roll defense, and we really fine-tuned that over the last couple of days. Offensively, not a lot of new stuff, just you know, normal game plan stuff. Couple, you know, after timeout wrinkles, you know, just advancing what we normally do.
I'm sorry, who are the assistant coaches who you had specifically breaking down Orlando?
All three had different assignments. Yeah, all three had different assignments on these guys.
Frank, I'm sure you addressed Barbosa before I walked up. What's his status tonight?
He's ready to go. Had a great deal of improvement from yesterday till today. Feels great, and you know, I don't think he's even going to be limited.
Okay, thank you.
Can you sense a difference in this team right now than the team that went into the playoffs last year?
Completely. It's a completely different team. You know, I think we're much better. We're much more experienced with George, Leandro, and David, and what they bring to the table. And you know, not only experience from what they bring, but you know, the guys that were on our team last year that had no playoff experience, now having tasted it last year in one of the best road environments that we got to play in Chicago, against one of the best teams, and to leave that series feeling like that we belong and that we played well and had a chance to win, and a lot of these guys feel like we should have won that series. I just think your maturity level for those particular players is far more advanced than it was last year.
I know when you shortened it up a couple weeks ago, you took Dante out. What did you like about going with the three-man?
I like what Dante brings to the table. I just like what Paul George brings to the table more. And if we can get more of Paul George out there, I want to try to take advantage of that. You know, it's that simple. It had nothing to do with anything that Dante is not.
Will you lean on David West a little bit more? Maybe run more stuff through him?
Yes, we'll. I don't know if we'll run more stuff through him. You know, we always keep him involved. We're going to have a spread the wealth approach to these playoff series. Everyone's making a big deal about the Roy Hibbert Big Baby matchup. You know, we're not going to overemphasize that. You know, we're going to put all our eggs in the Roy Hibbert basket. We're going to have matchups at multiple positions all series that we can exploit. And you know, we're going to have a share of the wealth approach this series, just like we've had all season.
How do you deal with a matchup with a power forward who leads the league in three-pointers? What do you do defensively against that?
Well, we changed our, you know, we throughout the course of this year, we've adjusted and tweaked our defensive scheme against the spread pick and roll attack to counter for that, so we can stay home more on a shooter like Ryan Anderson. And you know, and then we've just extensively drilled David and Tyler on all the ways that they get him his threes.
All right, thank you.
Coach.